Hi, I am Maya Proom. I am a level 3 ECE student at Fanshawe College. I was a SWAC student in my last year of high school at Fanshawe, and so I'd never really applied to any other colleges. I knew that Fanshawe had the ECE to ECL bridge program, and I knew that that's what I wanted to do. I worked with kids a lot throughout high school, whether it was just babysitting or as a camp counselor, but I didn't really solidify for me that I wanted to be working as a kindergarten teacher until high school, my last year, where I did a co op into kindergarten classrooms. I was really involved in the experience, and I absolutely fell in love with educating and working with children through this experience that I had. So I knew that I wanted to work as a kindergarten teacher, but I didn't really think that it was possible for me. I had a pretty rough high school experience, and I just kind of assumed that I didn't have what I needed to get into college. And it wasn't until one day walking around campus that I saw a booth for TESOL, which is the company that I got certified to teach ESL overseas. My ESL teaching certification brought me all the way to Italy, where I really fell in love with teaching and got to experience having my own classroom for the first time and my own group of students, and I really knew then that this is what I wanted to be doing with my life. While I do plan to go further in my educational career and finish the bridge program and go on to teachers college, I am still very interested in learning the theories that we've been studying, all things child development, and I've been finding the brain development portion very interesting as well. Onto the points that I find important for me as an educator. The first and foremost would be partnerships with families. Being in my placement, I witnessed parents come in to pick up their children, and they knew the names of each of the children. They encouraged their kids to go and give them hugs, say goodbye, and they would really sit down for quite some time. Often it would take 15 to 20 minutes out of their day to just sit down and be present in the community with the children. And I think that that is something that is really important and really beneficial for the children. As an educator, creating bonds and connections with the families that you're working with is crucial to be able to understand the child and best meet their needs. The next point that I find extremely important in education is learning through play. We as educators understand that children have a right to play. And when we can deliver learning opportunities through play in a fun and engaging way, that is how we keep the children engaged, invested, and really present in their learning. My last point, and probably one of the most important points when educating, is celebrating diversity in the classroom. Ensuring that each child is represented throughout the classroom in many different ways is absolutely crucial. This could look like literature, toys, dolls, just making sure that every child in your care is represented in many different ways all throughout the learning environment. If you have a child that wears glasses, uses a wheelchair, things like that, that needs to be represented in your classroom. These children need to be able to see themselves in the content that you're delivering to them. On to philosophies I am familiar with. Obviously, throughout the course, we study many different theoretical approaches to teaching. Ones that stand out for me specifically are Reggio Emilia, how children are competent, capable, and active participants in their learning. Understanding that they are curious and want to engage is a really big part of that philosophy that I personally have adopted. Understanding that The environment is the third teacher. So setting up your environment in a way that's going to support you in supporting these children. And then having my ESL teaching certification, it has allowed me for the experience to actually teach in Reggio Emilia and experience that theoretical approach firsthand. And then, of course, Waldorf. The Waldorf approach is something I am actually familiar with, as me and my brother attended a Waldorf school for a year in the 3rd grade. The types of things that we were allowed to do and were given the opportunity to handle on our own were honestly unimaginable. The types of things that we were doing, I have never seen children have the opportunities to do in other classrooms. We had things like knitting classes, we had sewing classes. When learning about Aboriginal and Indigenous cultures, we actually went into the forest behind the school and built teepee huts, and our teacher bought deer hide and we sewed moccasins. When learning about pioneer days and how people lived in that day and age, we actually created an entire Christmas feast the way that they would have. We made our own butter, we roasted a goose, we went to a tree farm and cut down a tree and then made our own ornaments just the way that they would have. I personally think that the Waldorf approach is a really fun and engaging way to teach and to get kids involved in their learning and be active participants. I know that the philosophies that I am familiar with shape how I educate and really shape my practice. As I teach, I am incorporating different aspects of each approach into my practice. I think being knowledgeable about these different approaches and practices and understanding how to dissect and take pieces that work for you and work for the group of children that you have at that moment is a really important aspect of being an educator. So in conclusion, by studying this course and looking into different theories and different approaches, I will then become a better educator and be able to take all of this knowledge of different approaches and use what works best for me and for the children in my care. Having a long list and a good understanding of several different theories and philosophies is a really important tool to have when educating, because when you understand all these different ways of teaching and ways of delivering information to these children and supporting them developmentally, you're not going to be stuck in a situation where you don't know what to do. You will always have something in your back pocket. I look forward to studying these new theories and philosophies and learning how I can best use them to inform my practice as I enter the field. Thank you.